Hi, Analisa 6 here with the December 2022 horoscope for the sign Aquarius, sun and rising. All right. Well, I want to apologize in advance for how poor the lighting is right now. I've been recording videos all day, and it just seems like the lighting's going to be different in all of them because the area of my house that I want to record in, I have these really nice windows that overlook the desert hills. And it's just really nice, but it doesn't affect this video very well. I'm also new to recording YouTube videos, so I'm sure at some point I'll have one of those fancy lights that they have. I feel like a grandma. I'm in my early 30s. I'm not a grandma, but in my head I am. Okay, let's get back to you, Aquarius. This is going to be an interesting kind of start to the month for you. Starting out with Venus and Mercury and Sagittarius, it's where it's hitting in the Aquarius horoscope chart. You're going to feel a little bit extroverted at the beginning of December and like you really want to connect to your friends and your sense of community. That's great. I think that you should really harness that, emphasize it, get it all out there, because by the last half of December, you're going to be feeling pretty burnt out and like you want to retreat into your cocoon and not leave your own personal space. Not saying that you're necessarily not going to still be out there and social, you might be, but you're not necessarily going to want to be. The other thing too with Mercury and Venus entering Capricorn and you kind of entering this more reclusive period is that the area that it's hitting in the horoscope chart could make you more prone to escapism through substances if you don't have a grounded practice within yourself around your subconscious and finding ways to kind of connect to your spiritual side without helpers. I say that because, I write for the Sober Curator, and this is on the Sober Curator. It's also on ladyofleosure.com, and I'm sober. I'm Cali sober, so I do use medical marijuana for my chronic pain that I have, but I'm sober from everything else. I don't have any other substances or alcohol that I use. And the area that this is hitting for Aquarius, if you're not in recovery, you're probably going to be more prone to using drugs or alcohol alone. And that can sometimes be really not good for people when you're alone during the holidays. And so that's something, if you feel yourself inclined to kind of descend into that, reaching out to your community is going to be really important, or getting involved in a community where you can find healthier ways to work through your feelings is really important. So if you don't have that, I would advise kind of finding maybe some resources at the sobercurator.com. There's a whole page of resources, and finding community online can be really beneficial if you don't have it in person. But that's not necessarily a negative thing in terms of where it's hitting in the chart if you do have those things. So if you are a little bit more grounded, whether you're in recovery or not, and you have a good grasp on yourself in that way, the Mercury and Venus in Capricorn, it's auspicious energy. And so this is also a really positive time for you to meditate or connect with yourself in a deeper way. Also a really positive time for you to start dream journaling and doing any kind of dream interpretation for things that are coming up for you at this time, because where it's hitting in the chart, there's things coming up from the subconscious that are really good for you to work through right now. Somatic healing, I think, is really positive for you during this time too. At the beginning of the month, we also have, either on the 7th or 8th, depending on where you're located, a full moon in Gemini that is going to be at 16 degrees. And so that's actually going to be making a trine to Aquarius. And trine energy, one of the misinterpretations of trine energy from a lot of people is that it's good. And while trines are not necessarily hard or bad, they're not necessarily good. They are easy and they push energy forward in an easy, fluid way, but sometimes it can be too much. It can be really fast. And Mars and Gemini can kind of exacerbate our mental process. It can kind of speed it up or blow it out. And so we can be a lot more anxious or a lot more prone to overthinking. And so that trine to the Aquarius, while it can empower you in the mental state, so if you have a very tech focused job or social focused job, that could enhance a lot of that energy for you, but it equally could make you more prone to anxiety. It can make you more prone to overworking or kind of blowing yourself out. So again, you're more prone to burnout by the last half of the month, and it could also kind of make you want to retreat a little bit. So balance is going to be really important for you. That full moon conjunct Mars, let's see where that's hitting. That is hitting in your 5th house for Aquarius rising. And so when we're calculating a horoscope chart, we're calculating the sun sign where the rising sign is. That's why it's important you look at your sun and rising when you're listening to a horoscope. And so, you know, for the horoscope chart, that conjunction of the full moon and Mars is happening in the house that represents our self-expression, how we are creative in our life, how we connect to romance, and how we're also connecting to our inner child and our sense of joy, our sense of pleasure, and how we bring joy and pleasure into our life. And the full moon a lot of times has to do with us needing to let go or release something. And when the full moon is happening in that area of the chart, a lot of times it means that we have maybe some kind of shame or blockages around our inner child, and that this is a positive time for us to release that and lean into the things that bring us joy and laughter and freedom around how we express ourselves. And Aquarius is, you know, it's such a good energy for that anyways. Like Aquarius is really good at stepping out of comfort zones and being more explorative when it comes to that inner child, at least in my experience with Aquarius energy. I think a lot of my Aquarius people in my life, while they can also be very serious at times, have a very goofy and out there nature that can also be really fun. And so I think that hopefully this Mars conjunct the full moon enables you to push past some of the more serious side and learn to embrace your joyful, fun side. I think that's what it's really wanting you to do, and not take everything as intensely as maybe you have in the past. Like, let yourself enjoy your life right now. At the end of the month, we have our new moon in Capricorn at 1 degree Capricorn. And this is going to be impacting your subconscious and your, it's kind of interesting actually, depending on, I mean, obviously all of this is dependent on how it influences you on a personal level. I use a Placidus house system. And so where this new moon is actually hitting is the area of community and the groups that we associate with, or the friendship circles that we have, or our political structures. But it also is kind of cuspy into the 12th house area, where that's our subconscious. And so there might be a little bit of that of both influence there, where you want to set intentions around maybe connecting to your community in a more direct way. So if you're feeling towards the end of the month like you really want to show up for your community, whether that's through volunteer work or some kind of philanthropy in some way, or in a political way, that could be possible. But if it's influencing more of that 12th house, you know, at the beginning of the month, I was talking about how it's going to be really important that you have some kind of way of connecting to your spirituality that is healthy, not necessarily being alone with your feelings in a way that's unhealthy. This new moon could be a time where you're setting intentions around that community too, but also that more personal inner relationship to your subconscious. And it's an energy that's going to be personal, but it needs to be worked through in a way that might be done with somebody else, like a therapist or a somatic therapist or healer of some kind. So there's definitely some healing that's going on for you at the end of the month, and could be around some deeper past rooted stuff. I know it's a big generalization, but if you feel like there's things from your past that are coming out during the new moon, December 23rd, reflecting on that and working through it in a constructive way is beneficial. Mercury is going to station retrograde in Capricorn at the end of the month. And so again, like, there's going to be some things that maybe came up for you earlier in the month that you're working through again through January. And it's in the subconscious. So it might come up in your dreams first. It's really important that you pay attention to your dreams for that reason, because we're working through and sorting stuff out through our subconscious and our dreams a lot of times. And sometimes symbols that seem really stupid and like they don't mean anything, if we sit and we're journaling them and we're like, oh, that came up, and oh, that actually, you know, is impacting me in a deeper way than I thought it was, that can be really constructive for us to work through dream interpretation, or with a therapist that does that kind of stuff. And I think that that's a theme for Aquarius, and it's good for you to explore that. The new moon is also making a square to Jupiter in Aries, and that's impacting your relationship to your self-worth and your relationship to your finances. So this is also a really good time for you to set intentions around how you manage your money and whether or not that's working for you. And so if you're having any financial stress or self-worth issues around how much you're making, that would be a good thing for you to work through with a therapist and construct or even a financial advisor, right? Somebody that can help you work through the inadequate feelings that you're having or the struggles that you might be having around your finances. And I'm looking at it from a struggle perspective, because we're going to have a retrograde with Mercury. It's going to make you have to reflect on these things. And the square that's happening to Jupiter with the new moon at 1 degree is going to activate kind of some of these feelings, right? And so it's important that we kind of review, like, okay, where are these feelings coming from, and what are the solutions to, kind of making things work in our favor in the long run, so that by February, when we don't have any retrograde planets, we're feeling like we're getting that momentum in this area of our life in a way that is serving us. So those are things that you can start to think about now and put into motion, and then, pull the trigger at the end of January or February around, whatever structure you want to put in place in that way. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's mostly it. So just kind of a quick overview, because I know I talked a lot. This is a great time for you to connect to your inner child and finding ways to experience joy more deeply. Really important that you have a strong relationship to your own spiritual self and finding modalities that help you work through your subconscious rather than escaping reality in unhealthy ways. And then working on self-worth and how you're managing your money and your finances, but being careful not to make too many changes during the retrograde time, because we're mostly in reflect and review. All right, Aquarius, happy holidays and good luck to you for the month of December.